Hello, dear friend, and welcome to your astrology horoscope for July 2020. We are having some great surprises and also significant changes during the month. First of all, the most important is that at the very beginning of the month, Mercury is retrograde. So be careful with all kinds of plans, with information, with all kinds of communication. And overall, we know that Mercury retrograde is not a beneficial period for starting brand new things. On the other side, if you want to restart something or reassess or fix something, then Mercury retrograde can be very beneficial for you. But through the month, Mercury is going to change its direction. And actually, after the 12th, Mercury is turning direct. So we can expect that the first and the second half of the month can be quite different. And after the 12th, we have a green light for starting the new projects and everything else which we want to do for the very first time. Some other important events are related to the lunar eclipse, which we are having as well. So those are one of the pivotal karmic transformational periods, and specifically the lunar eclipse is great for making some reassessments and letting things go. Everyone gets excited whenever they hear that it's an opportunity to get rid of all the unnecessary baggage, the burden, and old things. And lunar eclipses are great for doing exactly this. So make sure to really give yourself a clear answer. What do you want to let go of? This could be a relationship. This could be related to some kind of psychological pattern or belief or something you are doing but you don't want to. So anything which is unnecessary and old in your life, you can let it go during this lunar eclipse. And the last kind of major aspect that we have during July is the sextile between Jupiter and Neptune. We have already had this in the past. This is the second time which we have this transit during this year. And this is really an amazing combination. First of all, Jupiter and Neptune have a very close nature. Both of them are considered to be rulers of Pisces, and it's also believed that they both rule Sagittarius. So there is something similar about those two planets. They are both spiritually interested and focused. They are great for learning. And also, they can give you this spiritual understanding, which really helps in every situation. So, this aspect can be very enlightening, very calming, and also bringing us opportunity to grow, especially on a spiritual level. So those are just the most important events, but now we are going to go through each of the important aspects during the month so that you can really prepare upfront. And before we start that, just let me remind you, in case you want to dive deeper into astrology, check the links below and sign up for Mars Stars Astrology Academy. Now you can join the wait list, and in a couple of months, we are opening doors for enrollment. So make sure to hop on the wait list. And with that being said, let's move on to the 1st of July with the first significant events. So a key event here is that also Saturn is going back to Capricorn. Saturn is retrograde, and currently for the last couple of months, actually, it was in Aquarius, but now it's moving back to Capricorn for a while. This will be the very last time when Saturn is in Capricorn for the next around 28 years or so. So quite important for Capricorns, especially if you are born in the very last days of Capricorn season. Basically, those should be around the between the 15th and the 20th of January. And also, if you have your rising sign there in the last degrees of Capricorn or other important planets, that's also a major event for you. And if you're not really sure where is your sun or where is your ascendant, you can use the free birth chart calculator on my website. Links are again below the video. There you can check degrees, planets, aspects, all of it. And generally, with Saturn moving into Capricorn again, this is time for us to go back and reconsider some of our plans, especially in terms of social plans and also career, business, and make some kind of changes. When Saturn is retrograde, those changes can also be very deep and internal, and it's also about our own rules, our own boundaries as well. So that's a major thing as well. And the other aspect on the 1st of July is a very positive connection between the Sun in Cancer and Uranus in Taurus. This is an aspect which can allow us to be more creative, more inspired, capable of doing things in a different way, maybe taking certain risks, being braver, courageous, and overall just feeling inspired to make changes and to do exciting things. Then we move to the 5th of July with the next key event, and that's the lunar eclipse. It triggers Capricorn, the moon is in Capricorn, and also Cancer. And this is, as we said, great time for letting go, for also having a clearer idea, because those are pivotal moments when you can realize something important, have an insight or higher awareness about things, and just seeing things clearly. This may also be a culmination of something you have worked for, something which is important, something that you are trying to expand and grow. So, very pivotal, changing, transformative periods. Then on the 8th of July, we have a challenging aspect between Mercury retrograde in Cancer and Mars in Aries. Mars is very strong here. By the way, Mars will be in Aries through the whole month and actually until the very end of this year. So very strong position for Mars, and this may bring desire to take action, maybe be more impulsive, maybe sometimes even be harsher and too much kind of rushing through things. And when we have the square with Mercury in Cancer, which is quite soft, quite compassionate, quite intuitive there, we may be a little bit more impatient in our communication with other people. We are capable of saying harsh things to each other, sometimes intentionally, in many cases, without realizing the impact. But we really have to be careful of the words we use because they may hurt other people, literally. We may also say impulsively things that we don't necessarily believe, or we may just regret we have said them. And also be careful with communication with family members, with close people, and overall with everyone, because you may rush through things and sometimes you may really hurt other people. Be careful for impulsive decisions because they may also bring some kind of complications. Then we get to the 12th of July, also one of the most interesting days during the month. First of all, Mercury turns direct, which overall is great news. And this means that from now on, we have the green light, we can start the new things. But this is also the day when Mercury is going to be stationary. So on this very day, we need to be even more careful. When Mercury is stationary, and it happens around the shifts, so at the very beginning and at the very end of the retrograde phase, Those are the periods when the biggest complications and messes may occur. So extra attention on details, information with contracts, with communication, negotiations, anything related to traveling as well. Be extra careful. And this may even apply to 1 or 2 days before that. So just keep that in mind. But overall, after the 13th, after the 14th of July, things are slowly going back to normal. The other thing, specifically on the 12th of July, is the trine between the Sun in Cancer and Neptune in Pisces. What a romantic combination. Great for creativity, for art, for spiritual practices, but also for increasing our intuition, for connecting with people that we love on a deeper level, helping others, or making a sacrifice, or even doing some charity work. This can be a very nice combination, which can really allow you to see things from a different perspective. So if you are focused on projects which are not necessarily practical or material oriented, this aspect can really nurture your creativity and your inspiration. So truly an amazing aspect. Hint, I'm a huge fan of Neptune, if you haven't noticed yet. But honestly, this is really great. Then on the 14th of July, an opposition between the Sun in Cancer and Jupiter in Capricorn. So, first of all, this is not necessarily a bad aspect because Jupiter is not a malefic planet. So even the oppositions, which normally are considered to be stressful, may not be that stressful actually. This could be a time of reconsidering some goals, some decisions, some plans for the future we have. They might be provoked by communicating with another person or learning information from others. But overall, this may just show some kind of shift in terms of our overall focus and direction. And it's true that there may also be some kind of frustration with our goals or with our achievements, or we may feel like we have to do everything on our own. Like it seems there's no support and we have to, dig everything ourselves. And that's fine too, as long as we are motivated by that and just use it as a fuel to move forward and achieve higher results. This is an aspect which can make us more competitive, willing to show that we can do better than others or someone else in particular. And at the end, this may really serve us and allow us to do a better job, basically. And on the very next day, on the 15th, we have a similar combination. Again, the Sun in Cancer, but this time in opposition with Pluto in Capricorn. So this is an aspect which can be more problematic than the opposition with Jupiter, because Pluto is a very powerful, very intense planet, which unfortunately sometimes can bring also complications. And this time we may have some kind of power struggles, or we may feel that someone else is trying to tell us what to do. Socially, there may also be some kind of tension. And it might be difficult for people to make compromises or to be kind or gentle. Force and power might be used in a more unpleasant way. So be careful how you connect to others, especially some kind of authority figures, with government institutions, with some kind of power structures. It could be a challenge, it might be difficult, you may not really get what you want. So be cautious with that. On the positive side, such an aspect can allow you to make some drastic transformations about your own plans, about your personal life, about career plans. So honestly, this aspect can feel really empowering. The motivation or or the thing that can trigger this could be frustration or some kind of disappointment or some kind of really strong desire we have. But at the end of the day, this may also be very uplifting and can increase our productivity, because in my experience, people make the biggest changes and get the greatest results when they have been frustrated. Happy people don't make drastic changes and don't grow significantly. And it doesn't mean that we have to, seek for the problems, but whenever there is an opportunity like that, we have to see it from the positive side and use this as a fuel to grow. Moving forward, we get to the 20th of July with a new moon in Cancer. This new moon can allow us to start new things, to focus on something brand new, something we want to accomplish, something which we want to expand in the future. But the specificity here is that Saturn is having an opposition with the new moon, with the sun and the moon. So whatever we want to start, we really need to work extra hard. We have to be very patient, very practical, very organized, maybe accept some kind of limitations or prepare for some possible delays, or be extra organized and hardworking and just go the extra mile. But as I always remind you, the best thing about Saturn is that this is the planet of justice. So if you really deserve to achieve something, to get somewhere, there might be delays and complications, but eventually you will get there if you deserve it. So Saturn can bring some kind of tests to see if we really want this, if we are willing to go the extra mile, if we want to work harder than usual or than others. But if the answers to those questions are yes, 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 then guess what? Saturn is going to be your best friend. So this might feel kind of a limiting day or phase or overall new moon, but in the root of it, we may really see the opportunity. And again, be careful with authority figures, with social rules and limitations, and all of those things can be kind of, on the surface for all of us. And we see that, generally there are so many social transformations, and with this Capricorn energy, it really makes sense that we need to make changes socially. And think about it. What would you like to change in your career, in your plans, and how much work you are willing to invest into it? Then on the 22nd of July, we have the sun ingressing Leo, which overall changes the whole atmosphere. The sun in Leo is in the highest or the best possible position. And this means that the sun is bringing its light, its energy to the maximum. Great time for creativity, for starting new things, for finding the optimism, the courage, the belief in yourself, increasing your confidence, doing something in your own way. The sun in Leo can really bring the light that we need. And that would be true for the following month, for the next 30 days. The sun in Leo is very supportive for focusing on yourself, on some creative projects you might have, or anything that brings you joy and helps you feel inspired. Specifically on the 22nd, we also have a great aspect between Mercury and Uranus. This aspect can bring new ideas, some new opportunities, some exciting things. Great time to learn and grow. It's incredible for all things astrology related as well, and also for insights, ideas. willing to do something. We may also be introduced to interesting people which can provoke us, or who can really help us see things from a different perspective. Or we may find it just an amazing book that may open our eyes for something which is wow, so transformative. So overall, the 22nd of July is great. Then on the 27th, we have a couple of things happening. First of all, one of the major events of the month, which is the sextile between Jupiter and Neptune. Very creative, very enlightening, very uplifting combination. Wonderful for creativity, for connecting to your intuition, for all kinds of spiritual practices, and just feeling like you know where you want to grow or where you want to expand. So really amazing combination. The other two aspects are, first of all, not that significant, but also much more challenging. So we have a square again between Mercury and Mars. If you remember, in the beginning of the month, we had this when Mercury was retrograde. So now we have the same aspect again, but Mercury is already direct. So some of the things that were happening at the beginning of the month might be reconsidered. Again, there could be some kind of tension when it comes to communication, contacts with others, plans, traveling, all Mercury things related. So be careful of all of that. And on the other side, this is an aspect which can kind of trigger your motivation. If you have postponed something, if you have procrastinated on something, this combination may help you to finally get and do it. The other aspect we have is so different. This is again a square, but between Venus and Neptune. This aspect, by the way, also happened before when Venus was retrograde in June. So, kind of interesting combination, really. Something from the past might pop up on this day. So, be more open for that. And this Venus Neptune combination can bring some kind of messy emotional situations or feelings, or in relationships things can get a little more complicated, so be careful with that. Also, our evaluations, our judgments might be too subjective, or sometimes frankly inaccurate. And also, we might be too sensitive, extremely emotional, very irrational, so be careful on this day. And finally, on the 30th, we have two interesting aspects that trigger Mercury. Mercury has an opposition with Jupiter. So this could be a time of changing plans, changing goals, also changing our priorities, looking at things from a different perspective. And this is not necessarily a problematic aspect. Actually, it may have a very positive impact for us because Neptune is also part of this. So there is a trine between Mercury and Neptune, which can increase our intuition and help us see things from such a different perspective. Just feel them, not necessarily see them. You might just feel and know internally. Also very inspiring, very creative, great for communication, negotiations. And what's happening here is that we have something called synthetic triangle. A couple of days before, we had this sextile between Neptune and Jupiter. Even though it's not visible here on this chart, it's still there. It's a very powerful aspect. So of course, it's not affecting us only on this exact day. It has a range, and we are still in this range. So Jupiter and Neptune are connected with a positive aspect. We have another positive aspect between Mercury and Neptune, and a challenging aspect between Mercury and Jupiter. But this is a general rule in astrology. When we have a closed configuration like this one, this is always an opportunity to use the energy in a very constructive way and achieve concrete results. So The 30th of July may also be a very productive, very interesting day, bringing some changes, maybe new ideas or different perspectives. But all of that can be used, hopefully, in a very creative and constructive way. So that, my friends, was the overview of July 2020 with all of the key events. Don't forget all the resources I mentioned. They're in the links in the description below. You can use the birth chart calculator and check your own birth chart. I have a free webinar also available below. And if you want to go deeper, just sign up for the waitlist. We are opening up the doors very soon. So thank you so much for joining me. Let me know in the comments, how do you feel about this month and what's the best aspect for you through the month? What are you most excited about? Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon. Ciao.